Um, I've had the good fortune of recently meeting today's guest, Anja Lineen, through LinkedIn. And she is a champion of something that is close to my heart, a topic that's close to my heart, and I'm sure it'll be really interesting for our listeners today. Anja has a passion for taking an holistic approach to health. She's a personal trainer, a menopause champion, and has lots of great information to share about taking control of the controllables in our lives, especially in relation to minimising the symptoms of menopause and improving our overall mental, emotional and physical health. Anja, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm really well and I'm delighted to be here. Hopefully I can share some information that'll help your listeners just manage better or just feel better in themselves.
And I think just the topic, there will be lots of our listeners, Anja. That's why I was super excited when we connected, because it is a topic that I think is still I'm really passionate about just overall mental, emotional, physical health as well, and living our best lives, but also being, in that demographic of navigating menopause. And I know a lot of my girlfriends have had different experiences, and I've got a daughter. There's a lot of younger listeners as well. So I thought it would just be a really great topic to talk about, just to share information. But before we kind of dive into, navigating the experience of menopause, tell us a little bit about you and your kind of philosophy of life. Yeah. I know that's a very big question.
Yes. No, well, as you said, I'm a personal trainer. I've been working in the fitness industry for over 16 years. And, it was one of those things when I kind of did my training because I thought, I've talked about this for so long, I've actually got to put some action into this. But I was in my early 30s and I thought, I won't last in the industry too long because it's a real young person's game. But I was so wrong, because as we get older, someone in their 50s doesn't want a 20-year-old trainer who's got no idea about menopause and about having children and just the demands on life. So, that side of the business is still going great guns. And as I've got older, so a lot of my clients have as well, and that whole menopause thing started rearing its head. So a few years back, I went through menopause a bit younger. I'm 50 and I'm already through that. But as I started realizing that the heat that I was feeling wasn't coming from exercise, but was actually coming from hot flushes, which was a bit of a shock to the system, because it just wasn't something I'd thought about yet.
How old were you then when you were experiencing?
Now you're asking. Well, I'm 50 now. I'm going to say 47.
Yeah, okay.
47, My mum passed many years ago, so I couldn't ask her. She was of a generation where I remember her having HRT, but it wasn't really talked about.
Yeah.
So, I then started doing some research and discovered a dietary change that made a huge impact on me. So that sort of prompted me on that whole journey of discovery and learning. I've done some training and all that kind of stuff on menopause, but specifically a natural approach to menopause because of the exercise background that I have. And I just think, well, I'm not a doctor and I'm not about to go off and study to become a doctor, but I think I know there is so much that we can do to affect our general health and well-being. So that's kind of where I came at that. And I do I talk about controlling your controllables, and really, your choices matter. Whether you have a healthy lunch or you have an unhealthy, you miss lunch or you have a takeaway, whatever it is, everything's a choice.
Yes.
Going to an exercise class, not going to an exercise class. Everything we do is a choice, and it either takes us towards a goal or away from it, if you want to look on a bigger picture. So I like to be in control. So I thought, that's kind of where I'm at with that, is be conscious of your choices. And, and if you don't want to, we're not going to choose 100% well, 100% of the time.
I'm very much of that same philosophy that it's about living my best life, but that doesn't mean that I'm 100% of the time.
Exactly.
It does not mean that at all.
I'll have a glass of wine and I'll, eat the sometimes foods, as we like to call them. But when I do, I enjoy them. I do it consciously and I really enjoy it, and I'm not going to beat myself up over that. And it's taken me a long time to get there.
I think that's a really important point. I might just unpack that a little bit about those conscious choices, because everything is a choice. It is a choice. A lot of people say, "Oh, I had no choice." That's bullshit, because you did have a choice. You might not have felt it at the time, but by not doing something is a choice as well. By not making a change is a choice that you're choosing to stay where you are. And that's completely, we're not here to say, we're right, you're wrong, but it's about, for me, thinking about, if I choose to do something today, what are the implications of that tomorrow, is how I kind of live. And it is a little bit of that. It's balance for me. It's balance.
It is. And do you know what? Unless you're particularly training for like a bodybuilding competition, where they have those really strict regimens and strict diets and things like that. Most of us are just living life and want to have a good time, see our friends, be healthy. And it's about having that balance, as you say. And I often say, I think we're almost a victim of the affluence that most of us live in these days, and that everything's available to us. When I was growing up, we didn't have the fancy cheeses and all those things all the time. There were special occasion foods, and they've slowly crept into a lot of people's everyday. So to then go back and just eat a cleaner diet, it seems like such a big challenge, but it's the way a lot of us grew up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm a bit older than you. I'm 56. I'll hang on to that. 56. I'm 57 in a couple of months. Well, do you know what? Age is really just a number for me. But it's also the same sort of thing, that there's been a lot of society's changed, and what we're exposed to has changed as well. Going to step back a little bit. You said, getting into the fitness industry, you thought it was a young person's game, but you found that a lot of your clients, as they aged and you aged, you kind of matched them. I find that too with my coaching, that, certainly I have younger clients, but a lot of them are reflective of where I'm at in life as well, going through changes.
I think it comes down to that whole, that saying, you're a reflection of the 5 people closest to you. Yes. And, that's going to be a little bit broader for me. But I've honestly found over the years, as I've kind of relaxed into that, the clients that seek me out fit in. Yes. They fit in with the group that we've already got going. We get on really well. Every now and again, there's someone that maybe doesn't feel as comfortable in the group, and that's fine. That's going to happen. But, yeah, definitely, because we can relate to each other. We've got children at school, we've got aging parents, we're going through menopause, we're trying to work, we're trying to keep a relationship going quite often. It's, there's a lot going on in our life.
There's a lot going on.
A 20-year-old trainer is not going to understand.
Yes.
And neither should they. That's not a criticism. It's just, different.
Yeah, just different and just thinking about, who you're seeking help from as well. Yeah. Tell me what symptoms you went through when you were experiencing menopause.
So the main one really was the hot flushes, and I got a really hot back. It was really bizarre. My back just started burning up, and I was like, what is that? It was really strange.
Interesting. So, do you know what? I had, I'm having a little bit of hiatus from rowing at the moment, but when I went through menopause, again, the hot flushes, but I would get hot knees and hot ankles when I was rowing, and I would be rowing with my girlfriends, and they're just going, what the fuck? Like, really, what is that about? And it was just like my knees and my ankles. So I had to think about the type of, in winter, I would wear long socks that I could then push down because my ankles would get hot.
Yeah. And, this is the thing, that we're all going to go through menopause. Half the population, roughly half the population is going to go through menopause, whether it's a natural menopause, whether it's medically induced as a result of, surgery or medical treatment, whatever it is, we're all going to experience it at some point, but we're all going to have our own journey.
Yes.
So unfortunately, I can't sit here and go, do this, this, and this, and you'll be fine. But generally, there's some broad guidelines. But we're all going to go through our own experience.
And I think when we were having a chat prior to this, we were talking about that each person's journey is their individual journey. There will be some similarities with some people, but it's about, what I love about the podcast is just hearing stories from women about how they do life, and the pearls of wisdom just drop for the people who need to hear them. So I think even just hearing some different experiences and just keeping an ear out for what how others might be able to navigate will be really useful anyway. Yeah. Let's explore some of the terminology. Menopause, perimenopause, what are they?
Yeah. So menopause, by definition, is just 12 consecutive months without a cycle, without a period.
Yeah.
Perimenopause is the lead up to that time. So if you think about menopause as the flip side of puberty.
Yes.
So I've got some teenagers at home, and mine will go through puberty a bit later. So they're sort of hitting year 10, 11 when they're going through it. Whereas some of their friends went through, they were kids getting periods in year 6, when they're 12 years old and things like that. So again, they go through their own stages as we do on the other side with perimenopause. So look, roughly around the early 40s, things are going to start changing. You probably won't notice it immediately. It's one of those things where often we look back and we go, is that what was going on at that time? Yes. Right, that's why I was a bit cranky. I'd like to say that, maybe that was a few years of crankiness as well, that was one of those symptoms potentially for me.
I might have started very young then. I'm sure that's what my husband and kids might say, going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because there is so much going on in life when you're 40, 50.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? What's actually going on? It's only it's quite often when it's something that really hits you in the face and you go, oh, okay, time to do something about this, that we kind of look back and go, oh, okay. So yeah, the perimenopause is when our estrogen levels are starting to drop. And the reason we get the symptoms is that fluctuation in hormones. So estrogen drops, the progesterone, the testosterone all fluctuate. And those waves, those changes, that's where we're going to get the symptoms. So by managing some of our lifestyle choices, we can minimize those waves. So rather than extreme highs and lows, we're going to shorten those ups and downs. And I'm not going to say you're going to get rid of all your symptoms. I still have hot flushes. I still wake up at 2 a.m. What is it about 2 a.m.?
Actually, I remember one of my girlfriends, she had very specific times that she would wake up. Mine were, when I had the hot flushes, it would be, that whole wave of sort of starting from your feet and it would creep up through your body. And then it was just like, oh my God, I'm about to self-combust. And, the leg out of the blankets, I'd have blankets on and off and on and off. And then, but mine wasn't a specific time. I remember my girlfriend had a very specific time she would wake up.
Yeah, it's funny. So yeah. So it's
the fluctuation of the hormones kind of doing that reset.
Yeah, and that's where we're getting the symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can happen, like you were sort of mentioning, sort of early-ish 40s, but that's also, there are people outside that as well. There are, so please, for those listening, don't take this. We're not medical doctors. We're just talking about, some of the experiences, and you may relate, you may not relate, but I think it's a good topic to be talking about and kind of normalising, because I'm not sure if it's yet normalised. Certainly I do a lot of work with leadership coaching and women in the workplace. Don't know if it's normalised in the workplace.
Yeah, that's where I'm really trying to get the message into the workplace. And I've spoken to some companies that have policies, and they're starting to try and sort of really incorporate that and support those women. But it's a slow burn. It's starting to happen. We've had some high profile people write books and come out and really own their menopause. There's some people are saying that we're the ones that really fought for the maternity leave back when we were having kids, and now we're hitting menopause, and we're starting to talk about this and really drive this, and it's happening around the world. The UK is really leading the way. They're really pushing it. The conversation's happening a lot over there. I know I'm in touch with people in New Zealand. They're really starting to get the conversation going. And do you know what? The more we talk about it, the more normalised it becomes, and the better we're going to feel. The more you're going to realise that, okay, I'm not the only one waking up at 2 a.m. or, having hot ankles.
Actually, I think I am the only one that I've talked to that's had that, but I'm sure there's textbooks about
But that's the thing, it's, and also I've spoken to men and I can kind of see their eyes glaze over, and one actually did say to me, but that's a woman's problem. I'm actually, no, you need to live with us.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's your problem as well.
Yeah.
And, if we can empower men to have some knowledge that they can just be supportive and maybe, offer a glass of cold water if it's needed or whatever it is, just to, again, let's normalize it. It's a perfectly natural hormonal change. That's all it is. It's a hormonal change. We're all going to go through it. So perimenopause is the lead up. Menopause is the 12 months, that moment in time. And then it's post-menopause. And you might still have some of those symptoms as your hormones.
That is lingering, yes. Yeah.
So, look, it can go on for 10 years for some women. And that's the thing, some will sail through it. And I think that's why a lot of women kind of go, they roll their eyes and go, oh, it's another thing we've got to put up with.
Yes. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. And I think just for I don't know if that's the word, but we'll refer to it as menopause, but even technically that's the 12, having 12 months of no period.
Menopause is fine. Everyone understands what we mean by that.
Yeah, what we're meaning by it. Yeah. Maybe some of our listeners won't want to hear that 10-year time frame. Do you know what it can be? I've heard women that have said, oh, my God, I'm just still going through this. And some people experience really challenging symptoms too. It's not just the hot flush, but have you experienced, some of your clients, have they had some really challenging experiences?
Yeah, some of them like migraines.
Yes.
The extreme brain fog as well.
Yeah.
Anxiety is a really big one as well.
Is it?
Women who used to be really together and organised and on top of everything, just facing this crippling anxiety, to the point where a lot of them leave work because they, and from the work side of things, if you think about that, you've got this highly capable, knowledgeable, experienced worker who's then just leaving with all that wealth of knowledge. So if we can support women.
Yeah. Do you know what I find? Because I do coach a lot of women in that senior leadership role, and some of them going through the perimenopause and experiencing that brain fog is the brain fog, and in meetings where they have that, that hot flush happening and, it's just kind of, and I've experienced that too. For me, that brain fog was tricky to navigate because very, very capable. And then it was just like, shit, I can't even remember. I just can't even remember. And a lot of my clients are saying similar things, that in the workplace, you're right, they're almost getting this self-doubt creeping in because the shift from being very, very capable to not even remembering what they're, midway through a sentence, and also about how they are perceived. And if we can normalise that in the workplace, that it's not, it is a symptom. It's not saying that person is not capable. And I really loved how you said, just for our male friends and also other women who are not experiencing the symptoms or not have, just being aware and being mindful and kind to others that are, and that's not just in relation to menopause, that's just in relation
in general. To life. Yeah. And you know what? Those symptoms go away again.
Yes.
The brain fog goes away. Yes. I have found I've really reached that age of I don't care anymore.
Yes.
my son said something to me about being embarrassing the other day. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I have reached that age where I just don't care what people think. And I've also realised that all those years, most people weren't even looking anyway.
Oh, no, that's right. We worry far too much. We are just worried far too much about things. So
it's actually quite freeing, and it's really quite good. But, in the workplace, I know some women do have the confidence to sort of stand there and go, oh, sorry, just having a menopause moment.
Yes.
Maybe we'll get to that stage one day where you can have, if that's, your style, that you can have a bit of a laugh about it and go, sorry, just, lost my train of thought.
Yeah, and I guess for me, it's about what feels right for people to how they approach it themselves and what they're comfortable with. But it's about that normalising that it's okay to be able to talk about it or not talk about it, and just that it's not a big deal. That's something that we do go through. Anja, you mentioned that it's a kind of a Western phenomenon, that, some of the symptoms maybe are more common. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so they've actually discovered that women in cultures where getting older is revered, where that older generation is looked up to for their experience and their knowledge and, you know, all those things, those women actually don't experience the same menopausal symptoms that we in a Western society do. And you know, sort of that's a general term, but you know, that's probably because they're not afraid of getting older. It's actually a good thing. You're going to be one of the elders of the clan, of the society. They probably also have more of a societal construct where we do live together as more of a society rather than the individual family silos. And those women fare a lot better than we do. And their hormones are changing the same as ours.
Wow, that's interesting.
So, you know, because in our Western society, there's so much talk about it's going to be harder to find work in your 50s and, you know, you're getting older and you're invisible and all these kinds of things, that it makes it not so much fun getting older.
Yes, yes.
And if that's something that you're dreading, then any process that's involved with getting older is going to be something to dread.
Yeah.
So if we can turn that around and actually, you know, I'm owning the fact that I've got this newfound confidence and freedom, and I love that. And I think every birthday that you have is something to be celebrated, because it's another birthday you're celebrating. We've probably all got people in our lives who aren't celebrating birthdays anymore. So if we can change our thinking around that, I think that's a big part of that whole menopausal experience. And, you know, I'll say to a lot of my clients is reflect back on what the conversation was when you were growing up.
Yes.
What, you know, and that goes to so many things, like, you know, the whole diet culture.
Yeah.
The clients I've got clients whose parents actually used to say to them, oh, you're a bit pudgy, or you need to lose some weight and all that. And they've carried that into their adult.
Of course, yes.
And it stays with them. And that same thing, if you've grown up with mum, aunt, whoever in your life having a really tough time with menopause and really struggling, then you've probably taken on some of that. And you've got, you know, I like to think of it this way, that if you kind of go, okay, well, there's menopause and I might get a hot flush. So if you're thinking, oh, that's something to dread, then you feel the hot flush coming along. You go, oh, my goodness, there we go. Of course, it was going to happen, and there it is, and it's horrible. Or if you flip it around, you go, well, I might have a hot flush. And then it comes along, you go, oh, my goodness, that's really hot. Let me get, you know, strip off some clothes, grab a fan, and have a bit of a laugh about it and kind of go, oh, okay, that's part of the process. You're going to handle things a lot better. And I think that just goes towards a general mindset. So I do a lot of mindset work with my clients.
Yeah, I was just going to go down that path. It's like, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So if you think it's going to be shitty and you think it's not, I mean, I don't want to minimise people's symptoms at all, but I think it's also about being intentional about it. Like my mum passed away when I was young, so even before I had my period. So I needed to know, I navigated that as a young, girl, woman, no idea how to navigate life. And a little bit was like when I was going through menopause as well, like I didn't have very severe symptoms, but it was kind of like I had no history. The doctors will say, well, what was your mum's experience? And I'm like, she was 36 when she passed away. So, I've got no idea. And they're like, oh, okay. So, and I'm just kind of going, you know what, it'll be what it'll be. And in the scheme of things, it's been pretty mild. I remember I hate the cold, and I would always say, oh, I can't wait till I go through menopause, because then I'll have these nice warm hot flushes. And then when I had my first one, it was just like, holy shit, like that's not, I don't like that. I don't like that. But it was just quick. It was discomfort. And then it was just, and I did some dietary changes as well. I probably did that consciously, no. I probably just did it, that happened to coincide. I think in retrospect, I've learned much more about it as I've kind of navigated through, going, oh, maybe I could have even done a little bit better than, just with dietary and natural kind of stuff. Yeah. So, I think mindset plays a big part in it, not the only part, but a big part. Yeah,
it does, and it's also going to influence the choices that you make.
Yes.
Like you say, with the food, like alcohol's one of the big things that you sort of, if you are really struggling with the symptoms, it can be a big trigger.
Yeah.
Now, so they maybe choose to have a few alcohol-free nights a week, And then when you do have a drink, really sit and enjoy it consciously. Make that decision. I'm going to have, I don't know, a glass of wine, a gin and tonic, whatever it is that you really enjoy, but actually sit and enjoy it. But I think a lot of women, when they're going through this really busy time in their lives, they're getting to the end of the day and they're going, oh, I just really need a glass of wine. And if you're not in the best headspace, it's really, really hard to then say no to that glass of wine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I find that with food. I find that just generally with food. I've been tracking patterns, and if I'm tired, then it's almost like I don't have the strength to make the choices. But like you said, I do it for a bit, but then I'm back on that, mindfulness about how I do it. So what are some things that we can do? We've talked about some of the symptoms. We've talked about some of the things we can do in the workplace to help others out. What are some things? We've talked a little bit about diet as well. What are some other ways that we can help sort of navigate that journey of the hormonal change?
Look, I think working on your mindset and what your expectations are of your life now, and having a really clear picture of what you want your life post-menopause to look like, and having a really positive thing to look forward to, I think that really does help. And it might come across as a bit woo-woo, but I think most of us are now getting around that mindset is a powerful, powerful tool. Yeah. So having something really positive to look forward to, because I always say the choices you make today and the things we do now will impact your life in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So if you've got that really clear, beautiful vision of a future, it'll make it easier today to, choose to eat better or exercise or whatever. So I think that's a really powerful thing, to have that goal to look forward to and have that as your driver as to, am I going to choose to step towards or away from that goal? I've got to say exercise.
Yeah.
With my background, but it is proven.
But it is proven.
It is proven. Yes. It makes you feel better. So it's got that mind, the mental health side of things that makes you feel better. We also lose bone density and muscle mass from our 30s. I think we reach peak bone density sort of in our 20s even, and then the muscle mass starts to go as well. So that strength work is really, really important, to work on the muscle mass, to work on the bone density, because again, we don't want to be falling and breaking a hip when we're older. Or
you hear that a lot, don't you? You hear that a lot. I was talking with a girlfriend just this week about bone density tests. Yeah. Do you do that? Because I haven't, but it has been recommended that I do. So that's on my to-do list, my health to-do list. It's one of those things they
say to do around the age of 50. And I recently changed GPs, and she was going through everything. We did all the blood tests, and she said, with your job, you'll be fine. We won't do the bone density test. And I was like, I'd quite like to have a benchmark of where I'm at.
I think that's a good
idea. Because my grandmother had osteoporosis, and I'm very like her.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very consciously doing more strength work. And you don't have to be lifting loads of weights every single day. If you can do it a couple of times a week, 20 minutes, half an hour. If you're new to it, get some supervision, make sure you're doing the right thing. Don't hurt yourself. But it is so, so important.
And so it's the strength work, but it's also that mobility as well, and flexibility. I just find that health for me is one of my top values in life, because it doesn't matter how much money or how good my life is. If I don't have my health, it's not going to be much chop being in a nursing home, not being able to do anything. I'm
exactly the same. And I always said, if you've got your health and you lose all your money, then you can go out and work. You can do something. I mean, if you're healthy, you can go and do something. But if you're unhealthy and you lose all your money, and let's face it, we all need some money to live.
Yeah, of course.
But if you're unhealthy, that's really going to limit your options in earning that money back again. So your health, in my mind, it is the number one thing. That commodity that we've got.
Yes.
I think it's a privilege to have, but it's also a responsibility to look after, I think.
I agree. And I think even that analogy of, if we were given a car when we were born and we had to maintain that car for our whole lives, and we knew that was the only car we were going to have, we would have it in serviced. We would, we would shine it up. We would look after, we would take care of it. But our bodies, we're given this body when we, come into this life, this is our vessel for the life, and it's about looking after that so it can actually carry us through life. So for me, health is, up high priority. And sometimes, I'm not saying that I'm far from perfect around that stuff, but it's about also, my mum passed away when she was 36. So heart health is really important for me. Mental health is really important. My dad lost mobility later in his life. And so it's kind of like, I don't want to be like that. Yeah.
No. The heart health that you say, that's a really key one, because menopausal women, like up until menopause, our risk of heart disease is way down on men. Once we hit menopause, it skyrockets. We go right up there. We get up there with the male risk levels. And the thing is, all those heart attack symptoms that they talk about in men, they don't happen to us.
No.
But they call them general heart attack symptoms, the ache in the arm and the chest and all that. For women, it's a lot more subtle.
Wow.
So that is one of the things as well that they recommend, that you get like calcium scores done on your heart, and just but there again, the exercise is a big part of your heart health and your brain health.
Yes.
I met this fabulous woman the other day who has a similar approach to me in terms of a natural approach to health, but she specializes in brain health, and in particular in dementia.
Yeah.
She said the same thing. There are so many things that we can do to maximize our brain health.
That's cool. And so we're sort of talking about menopause being a point in our, women's lives, and the symptoms that go with that and how we navigate it. But what a lot of what we're talking about is really just about how we navigate life, really, take
and I think it's really exciting that we can make changes.
Yes.
That we have that choice to eat better, move more, focus on your stress management, try and maximize your sleep, the sleep quality as well as the quantity. A lot of what I teach is actually free to implement.
Yes.
But we just, once we know those things, and we can, that saying of when you know better, you can do better.
Yeah.
I think it's great to say, yes, you're going to go through menopause, but you don't have to suffer that much.
Yeah.
Yes, some people will have a different experience and some more extreme than others, but we actually have it within our power, within our grasp, to make things better. And I think that's really empowering. It's really exciting.
And it just popped into my mind then when you were saying that. Yes, there are women that will have, not great experiences with menopause like there are in other things, but that's also not diminishing. What I don't want women to do is to feel guilty because they didn't. It's almost like, I can't talk about my experience because it wasn't bad and I don't want to upset somebody. I think that's about, it's your experience, and share your experience, because that's also about normalizing it as well. It's a normalizing the extremes, but not making your experience less than because you didn't have all the shittiness that others had. I think, do you find some women do that? I think it's almost like, oh shit, I don't want to say anything because mine wasn't actually that bad. When Mary down the road was really suffering. It's I find that in life too, that some women don't celebrate what's going on for them. It's almost like they're dulling their sparkle.
Because they don't want to make someone else feel bad.
They don't want to make somebody else feel bad. It's about owning. For me, it's about owning it and sharing it, and helping and supporting others, but also not making excuses for the experience that I've been through either.
Yeah, that's very true.
I sort of find that in other areas of life as well. Tell me, there's a number of our listeners that will be thinking that menopause is like 100 years away and it's not even something that they need to think about. Hopefully we've shared some tips that might help them, but is there anything for our younger listeners that might be a juicy pearl of wisdom for them?
Oh, look, the sooner you can put your healthy practices in place, the better off you'll be. And it's one of those situations where you're not going to be able to turn back the clock and go, right, if I do things differently, let's see what happens that way. You've just got to have that faith that implementing regular exercise, really focusing on yourself as well, your mental health, your stress management, your sleep, and your diet.
Yeah.
The sooner you do those things, the better off you'll be in life in general.
In general, yes.
So that to me would be just be kind to yourself. Choose well for yourself what, the things that matter to you. And when you do have those celebrations and you have the cake or the wine or the cheese or whatever it is that floats your boat, that's your real, your soul food, shall we say, enjoy them. Don't spend your life
guilty for them. Yes. Yeah.
Oh no, life's too short to feel guilty about
way
stuff,
too short. Yeah.
I like to say to my kids, if a situation is bothering you, if there's something happening you don't like, can you do something about it? If yes, then do it. Yeah. If you can't do something, because there will be situations you can't change, we're going to go through menopause. It is what it is. But then learn to live with it.
Yeah.
Learn to live with it, because just sitting back and feeling sorry for yourself, you can do that for a little bit. But then, sort of give yourself a bit of a kick in the pants and go, right, I'm either going to, change what I can change, make choices, learn to live with what I need to live with, and surround yourself with people who'll support you.
Yes.
I think that's a huge thing, because sometimes we do have those people around who, I think we probably all experience it, that you say, right, come Monday, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this exercise, I'm going to do this. And then you'll always have those people who go, oh, yeah, that'll last a week and then I'll see you back here again, or you'll say you want to go to the gym and they'll go, oh, no, come out with us, we're going to the pub. And, those detractors, identify those people in your life and just be aware when you are interacting with them. I'm not saying ditch them. Just be aware when you're interacting with them that they're not really going to support you. And then go and find those supporters who will get up early with you, or who will, have a soda water with you rather than the glass of wine or whatever it is. And, because
it's interesting.
Creatures. We need that support.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm grinning. I've written a masterclass for my membership community, the Happiness Lounge. Today, I recorded that was about attracting the right kind of people into your life. And I was talking about that, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. So who are those 5 people in your life? And are they supporting you on your journey, or are they actually holding you back? And that's very much what you've just said there too, that it's, it might not be about ditching them, or it might be, but it might be about spending more time with people who are going to inspire and uplift you. So you can...
It's those conscious choices again.
Conscious choices. It's absolutely conscious. Yeah.
Sometimes if you just sit down and think about different people in your life and what that brings up in you.
Yes.
I'm going to go and see, Joe down the road. Oh, I'm really excited about that. Or it's going to be a bit of a schlep. Yeah. Because your body doesn't lie. No. When you talk about that gut feel, you can't override that.
No.
You can override what's going on in your head, but listen to your gut. And if something doesn't feel quite right, or then, learn to live with it somehow, or change it if you can.
Do you know what I think there too, Anja? It's about listen to your gut, like really listen to it, because I reckon most people do get some sort of a signal, but then they just leave it. They ignore it. So kind of go, what is that telling me? What is that? What do I need to know about that feeling? Is that something that I just need to, is it a little bit of a red flag, or is it me being judgmental about somebody who really I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt to, like, really what is that telling you? Because I find a lot of people just go, oh, yeah, I don't know. It's like, well, have you really sat and listened and inquired? And some people don't know how to do that. And for me, it's just about going, oh, what's that? What's that about? What do I need to know about that little niggly feeling that I've got? Yes, so I think trusting.
I mean, they're learning more and more about the gut-brain axis.
Yes, absolutely.
And that comes back to, sort of the way you feed yourself as well. The kinds of foods you decide to choose to eat are going to have a big impact on what's going on in your gut. Yes. And it really does influence so much. It's so powerful.
Oh my gosh, I love all of that. And that's that holistic approach to health as well. Now, there are things where women are experiencing, very severe symptoms, and there are certainly hormone replacement therapy that they can, explore. I mean, I would suggest talk to your health professional about that and do what's right for you. Don't do what's right for your girlfriend. Don't do what's right for the chick that sits next to you in the leadership meeting. Do what's right for you. Like take ownership. I went, do you know what? A couple of years ago, actually, this just popped into my mind. It's probably maybe 3 years ago when I was experiencing some fairly severe symptoms, and I went to see my GP, but she wasn't available. So I went and saw a replacement GP who was a woman, who was an absolute cow of a doctor, and she's going, why do you want all these tests? Why do you want to know stuff? Like, what's this about? And blah, blah, blah. And like really quizzing me. And I felt very disempowered, I guess. I felt very, she made me feel bad, or I felt bad from what she was saying. And then I said to her at the end of that appointment, I'm actually taking control of my health and I'm wanting to do some checks just in relation to, and to me, I think they were just fairly standard blood tests and stuff. Yeah. And I had to go to the doctor the other day. I don't normally go to mainstream doctors as my first point of call, but I did go, and her name was on the, like, do I want to book in? I'm just going, no way. Like, she made me feel really, or I felt really not great about myself and choices. And I thought, sorry, fuck you. And it was about really taking back my power and control over my own health.
Yeah.
So even sometimes our health practitioners aren't great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bit of a rant because that just reminded me how angry I was about her.
So true. And the thing was, I go through this in my program as well when I'm working with clients, the things to ask your doctor.
Oh, good.
So find a doctor who specializes in women's health, because this blows my mind, but 50% of the population is female. And doctors do not learn about menopause.
Oh, my God.
They don't learn. They might touch on it.
They might touch on it, but not really specialising.
They don't learn about nutrition. Again, they might touch on it. And it frustrates me no end, because they'll give you medicine to put into your body.
Yes.
But that has an effect on your body. But don't consider the fact that the food you put into your body has an effect on your body.
Yes. Yeah.
And it blows my mind. So yes, finding an alternative doctor who will consider the holistic is fabulous. But also finding a doctor who has then gone off and specialised more in women's health.
Yes.
Because the options for HRT these days are vast.
Yeah.
It's come such a long way. It's really safe. And because there are so many options, it is really worth having a chat with your GP. If you've got to that stage where you're just overwhelmed by the symptoms, don't sit and suffer through them.
No, don't do that, no.
Go and get some HRT. The stuff that I talk about will help minimise some of your symptoms. It'll help you live a healthy, vital life post-menopause, because I think, we all want to be active, most of us anyway, after menopause. But if you're really, really suffering, go and get help. We have that help available. We have that knowledge. We have the medications. And hopefully if you're doing all the other things, then you won't need to be on the HRT for that long. But there are creams and gels and patches and pills, and there are so many different options that if you find the right doctor, they can really help hone in on whatever your symptom is. It might be itchy skin, it might be migraines, it might be vaginal dryness. There's so many different things that, and I read the other day, there's something like 34 or 35 common symptoms.
Okay. Yeah.
You might have a combination of those. You might have a cocktail of symptoms, So if you find the right doctor who will talk to you and listen to you, and, I think that's so important. But blood tests are one of the key things as well. And one of those things I think I highly recommend getting done regularly so that you have that benchmark, because sometimes that symptom that you're feeling can actually be a mineral or vitamin deficiency. It might be something else going on in the body.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Is just menopause is a point in time or a period in time, but it's about our holistic approach to our health and well-being, and having those regular checkups is important with your health practitioners around that. So taking control. Oh my gosh, time just goes and goes and goes. tell us where people can find you, Anja. I was going to chat in with you. I can detect a little bit of an accent there. Where are you? Where's that from?
I grew up in South Africa.
Yeah.
But my family's German.
Oh, interesting.
Anja. Yeah. And then the surname's Irish because the husband's Irish. So we've got a melting pot here.
Yes, you've got a melting pot. And where are you located? Where are you located? In Sydney? Yep.
In Sydney. So I've got a website, the Wellbeing Toolkit.
Yes.
And I work one-on-one with clients, but I also have a program called Unpause, the Natural Menopause Program, which is an 8-module program that you can work through in your own time. It's a series of short little videos with worksheets to download, and it goes through all the key elements of, what to talk to your doctor about, what's going on in your body, your exercise, your stress management, and all those kinds of things. And the idea being that you build up your toolkit of things that work for you.
Love it. And so can people get that from your website? Like that's a program, so they can be anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world. It's an online program. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. So that's the Wellbeing Toolkit. The details will be in the show notes if you want to reach out to Anja and find out more information. And personal training, is that in person or online as well?
The personal training I do more in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on the North Shore, do Pilates classes, bar classes, outdoor fitness, and then some one-on-one sessions as well.
Perfect. So I know some of the Happiness Hive listeners are in your neighbourhoods. So for those listeners, you could reach out to Anja. But for the other programs, information that Anja's got is online programs, and her contact details are in the show notes.
A bunch of blogs there that you can have a read of.
And just, I guess, our parting words. What would your parting kind of tip be for, I think you've shared so many. Parting
just really being aware of the choices that you make, choosing consciously, and aim for being good, in inverted commas, 80% of the time. And when you choose to have those celebrations and whatever it is that you're indulging in, enjoy it, do it consciously. Don't waste your time on guilt if you can avoid it. Just be kind to yourself. And being kind to yourself might involve, making yourself get up a little bit earlier so that you can do a little bit of exercise in the morning, or you can do that meditation. If you're finding that that's what's helping you sleep better, then, that's part of what being kind to yourself is. So
My grandmother used to say, everything in moderation. It's like, have the chocolate cake, in moderation. Don't let anything be too consuming. So I think that conscious choices, and my parting tip would be just you do you, like do life your way. For all of our listeners, there are some things that we've shared, but at the end of the day, you need to do what is right for you. And so you do you, Boo.
It's having that confidence in yourself to know what's right for you, like you were saying with going to that doctor. This is what I need to do for me, and even if you're going to try and put me down, that's what I'm going to do. So it's true.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for that. Big hugs and happiness, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks, Anja.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks,
my pleasure. Thanks.